The city of Charleston, South Carolina is the subject of one of the country's largest redistricting battles affecting the 2024 election. The Republican legislature redrew South Carolina's first congressional district in 2021 to make it safer for Republicans, but the map is being challenged by the NAACP in the Supreme Court as an illegal, racial gerrymander. The Supreme Court will soon decide whether the first district map is unconstitutional in the case Alexander versus NAACP, and whether Charleston will once again have a competitive congressional district going into the November election. Sam Scardin is the chair of the Charleston County Democratic Party, and he explains how Charleston was divided during redistricting.
So they've taken basically every potential Democratic voter, many of them non-white, and added them to a district that's based in Columbia, which is an hour and a half from here. When, like I said, prior to that, we had a Charleston-based district that made sense.
As Scardin noted, Joe Biden won Charleston County with 55% of the vote in 2020, but Charleston County has been divided between two congressional districts. Local activists like Lawrence Moore, who is the chair of the group Carolina for All, are against the division.
The voters, they moved out of the first congressional district, the black voters, they stuck them in the 6th congressional district, which is where I reside in presently. What that does is minimize our ability to influence politics in South Carolina and in Washington, D.C.
Republican State Senate Leader Thomas Alexander said in a statement, quote, "I firmly believe the congressional plan enacted by the South Carolina General Assembly complies with the Constitution." When the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in Alexander versus NAACP in October of 2023, Republicans said that the redistricting constituted a partisan gerrymander and not a racial gerrymander. Professor Jordan Ragusa at the College of Charleston worked as an expert witness for the NAACP in the Supreme Court case, analyzing how the redistricting disproportionately targeted black voters.
I am of the opinion, of course, that it was a racial gerrymander. I had a lot of evidence to support that claim, and other experts in the case had similar evidence.
Some 30,000 black voters were moved out of the 1st District and into the 6th District, which the Republican legislature accomplished by moving precincts in northern Charleston into the 6th District. In 2020, Democratic candidate Joe Cunningham netted more than 13,000 votes in Charleston and North Charleston precincts that were moved out of the 1st District.
Taking whether they were Democrat or Republican off the table, there was still a huge effect where they were disproportionately grabbing precincts that had a large black population and moving them into the 6th District. And likewise, they moved precincts with a large white population back into the 1st Congressional District.
And it appears the Republican gerrymandering was successful. In 2018 and 2020, the margin between candidates in District 1 was within 2 percentage points in both elections. Dr. Annie Andrews is a pediatrician. She was the Democratic candidate for the 1st District in 2022. Dr. Andrews says that the GOP tried to redraw the district to keep the incumbent Republican safe after 2 close elections.
And they've admitted that. They admitted that to the Supreme Court, that this was a clear partisan gerrymander to keep the seat safe in Republican hands. And so in the middle of my campaign for Congress, all of a sudden the district got very drastically redrawn. And if you look at a map, you can see that you can't actually get from one part of the district to the other without getting in a boat or swimming.
With the gerrymandered map in 2022, Democrat Annie Andrews lost to incumbent Republican Nancy Mace by 14 percentage points.
It's incredibly frustrating to me because I got into politics to actually help people, particularly to help children. And in the middle of my campaign, it was essentially decided for me. The outcome was decided for me. I had no chance because it became so deeply gerrymandered in such a deep red district.
Sam Scardin from the Charleston County Democratic Party outlines why competitive elections are important.
I think it's all of Charleston and all of South Carolina that suffers as a result of it. We had a competitive seat here, like you said, and competitive elections are good for democracy. First of all, they make politicians earn your vote. They make politicians stay engaged, and that's what gerrymandering prevents, is when you create these double-digit Democratic districts or double-digit Republican districts, you're taking away the incentive that really forces politicians to be accountable to voters.
Now residents of Charleston are waiting to read the Supreme Court's decision on Alexander versus NAACP so they can know their political future. And with a narrowly divided Congress, Democrats are hoping the Supreme Court rules in favor of the NAACP so they can have a better shot at retaking the majority in the House of Representatives this November. In Charleston, Philip Powell, Illinois News Channel.